Hey everyone, how's it going? Matthew Kadish here, author of the Earthman Jack Space Saga, available over on Amazon.com. And in this video, we are going to be diving down into the nitty gritty, behind the scenes, inside baseball metrics of streaming services and how streaming services particularly look at shows in terms of how well they do for them. So we're going to compare the old way of looking at ratings versus the new way of looking at metrics. And in particular, we're going to be examining Star Trek Discovery and why CBS All Access considers it to be such a big hit. And you might be surprised by what we find out. So anyway, let's get right to the video. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery now.
Yeah, I was kind of holding out for that one. So yeah.
So I want to talk about Star Trek Discovery in the context that there have been a lot of rumblings on the interwebs lately about how Star Trek Discovery is a failure. They don't understand how it keeps getting renewed. It's costing CBS All Access tons of money. It's not making a profit for them. And I feel like a lot of these rumors concerning Star Trek Discovery come from a general ignorance of how different a streaming service operates than a regular broadcast TV network. And recently there was like some rumblings about a Google Trends graph that shows a declining interest in Star Trek Discovery versus the movies versus the original TV shows and stuff along those natures. And I always find it interesting getting kind of wonky and in the weeds about how some of this stuff operates. So Alex, Matt, Tom, do any of you guys know about how broadcast television turns a profit?
Not a lot. Advertising,
yeah. Viewership. That's about it.
So the way it works is basically there's this thing called ratings. And when you have a broadcast TV show, the higher it's rated, which basically equates to the more people who watch it, the more money you can charge for advertising. And so a high-rated show can charge a lot of money for advertising and make a lot of profit for the network that's airing it. And a low-rated show can't charge as much for advertising. And if the advertising doesn't meet the cost of the show or isn't profitable enough, the show gets canceled and replaced with something that can hopefully get higher ratings. And the way the ratings system works is there's this service called the Nielsen ratings, which basically is a company that goes out and gets like a sample size of the general TV watching audience, and they monitor what these people watch. And then they extrapolate from that and figure out, okay, well, X number of people are watching this show, and therefore the ratings are this, and then the networks take that and kind of figure out how much they charge for advertising based off that. But it's a very unscientific, well, it is scientific, but it's a very kind of not accurate way of figuring out how popular a show is, because you're taking it from a small sample size and extrapolating it. Now, the difference with streaming is that people who run the streaming service, because it's direct to consumer, okay, they know exactly what their metrics are. They know how many people are subscribed. They know how many people are watching. They know for how long they're watching. They know all these different metrics, which helps them to figure out whether or not a show is profitable for them. And one of the biggest metrics that streaming services look at is subscriber retention, because it doesn't matter how many of the shows are being watched. It just matters how long these people are being subscribed to. Now, a caveat to that is something like Hulu or CBS All Access, which offers a subscription tier that includes commercials. So there's also the commercial advertising aspect to this. Now, what I want to go over just real quick are some of the subscriber metrics that these streaming services use. I'm going to use Netflix as an example for this article. And then we're going to dive into why ratings don't matter for Star Trek Discovery and why Star Trek Discovery is actually a bona fide hit for CBS All Access and thus is going to be renewed for a long, long time. And everyone's jobs in the Star Trek front are safe. So in this article from allyourscreens.com, it kind of goes over the 5 streaming data points that matter more than ratings, at least for Netflix. And it's a very interesting article. So if you're into this stuff, you can check out the link when I post it. But the top 5 metrics are churn rates and cost of customer acquisition. So how much it costs for a streamer to pull in a new subscriber and how many of those subscribers unsubscribe after subscribing. That's the churn rate. How many active subscribers does the service have? This is a big thing because this is their monthly revenue. So if you have 100 million subscribers paying $8 a month, you're making $800 million a month. How many subscribers does the service actually have? And it says most of the large streaming services provide reasonably accurate quarterly subscriber numbers, but it's much less transparent with the smaller niche services, as is the case of CBS All Access. Its numbers are combined with its sister Showtime, so it's unclear what its actual subscriber numbers might be. And this is a very interesting point because when we're talking about CBS All Access, which is the service that airs Star Trek Discovery in particular, they're kind of bundled in with the Showtime direct-to-consumer streaming app. So the numbers we get from CBS All Access aren't accurate because they're combined with another service. The fourth one is how many of these subscriptions are discounted. And this was kind of interesting to me because this says, this is a question that is of special interest to Hulu, which offers a number of subscriptions at a discounted rate or as part of a bundle. For instance, you can get Hulu bundled for free with a Spotify family subscription or get the ad-supported version free when you subscribe to Hulu Live Television. Disney has also announced it will bundle Hulu into a package with ESPN Plus and the upcoming Disney Plus service for a discounted rate. Nearly every streaming service offers some sort of promotional or discounted pricing, but Hulu in particular seems to have a large number of less than market rate subscriptions. So even though you can say Hulu has 24 million subscribers, how many of those are actually paying the full amount per month? And that's a very interesting point. Finally, it says, where are the new subscribers coming from? Thanks to the success of Amazon channels, every platform from Roku to your cable company have added the ability to subscribe to streaming services through them. And this is an interesting point because if you go through Amazon or Roku or whatever, you can actually subscribe to all the different streaming services, CBS All Access, HBO Now, all this other stuff. And when Disney Plus comes out, I'm sure you'll be able to do it through them. And it's basically a way of pulling in the user base of something like an Amazon Prime and getting them to pay off, to these other services. But that third-party subscription integration comes at a price, typically a few dollars per new subscription. So if you subscribe to like CBS All Access through Amazon Prime gets like $1 or $2 off of that subscription, and CBS All Access gets the rest. But aside from the initial flat payment, which can fall into cost of customer acquisition part of question 1, a more important metric is the percentage of total new subscribers that are coming from these third parties. If it's high, that suggests the service has exhausted its pool of easy-to-capture new subscribers, which points to an eventual slowing down and stalling of growth. And that's what Netflix is kind of running into right now, and that its growth is being stalled because it's kind of hit saturation point. And with all these new competitors coming in, people are having more choice, so they're not going with Netflix. Now, how does this relate to Star Trek Discovery and CBS All Access? Well, let's go to this CNBC article where it says CBS reaches its 8 million streaming subscriber goals 2 years early. So for those of you who don't know, when CBS All Access kind of launched and did its big push with Star Trek Discovery, its goal was something like 4 million subscribers, something like that. And then after the first season of Discovery, CBS All Access came out and said, we're looking to try to hit 8 million subscribers by 2022. And the service actually hit that goal 2 years early. And this is between both CBS All Access and Showtime. And it's believed that's kind of an even split. So basically, CBS All Access has 4 million subscribers and Showtime has 4 million subscribers. But they hit their benchmark early. And so now the company has raised its goal for 2022 from 16 million subscribers to 25 million subscribers. So CBS is very bullish on their prospect for growth on their streaming network. Now, to kind of dive deeper into this, CBS, this is a article from Forbes where it says CBS All Access and Showtime over-the-top services, which is basically just streaming services, subscribers surged 71% in the first quarter. I'm just going to read you the first couple of paragraphs of this article for context. CBS, which just renewed Jordan Peele's buzzy reboot of The Twilight Zone for its CBS All Access service, said premium direct-to-consumer subscribers surged 71% in the first quarter. And keep in mind, the first quarter is when the second season of Discovery also premiered. Subs have passed the 8 million mark a year earlier than anticipated. The numbers reflect both CBS All Access and Showtime's OTT services, and CBS did not break them out. The Peel executive produced and hosted series debuted April 1st, joining Star Trek Discovery and The Good Fight as popular originals, along with 10,000 episodes of CBS series and draws like College Sports Live, March Madness On Demand, and Big Brother Live feeds. CBS launched CBS All Access in 2014 and Showtime's OTT service the following year, and they're the centerpiece of the media conglomerate's growth strategy. And keep in mind, this was all kind of brainchilded by Les Moonves, who was the former CEO of CBS, who eventually got ousted off of a sexual harassment scandal. During a conference call to review first quarter earnings, acting CEO Joe Iannolo and digital chief Jim Lanzone, who was the guy who built out CBS All Access, said the direct-to-consumer segment is aiming for 25 million subs domestically by 2022, fueled in part by new distribution platforms like Apple TV, which is going to offer CBS All Access as a subscription service, much like Amazon Prime does. They also see a massive opportunity to grow overseas, and this is the really interesting part. To fuel the pipeline, Iannolo said CBS will invest $8 billion in content this year, up from $7 billion the year before, for its own array of services and for third parties, including Netflix and the upcoming Disney+. The focus on content will assure CBS a seat on the rocket ship of the digital future, Iannolo said. But the really interesting part here is how their focus is moving to an international audience. Because, as we're going to get into here, Netflix is big internationally. In fact, they're probably the biggest streaming service with the international audience. All the other streaming services are kind of focusing on the U.S. audience first, and this is how Netflix is keeping some of the rights to other studios' content in terms of displaying it overseas. But in this Deadline article, we say Star Trek Discovery and AFC Championship bring record subscribers, says CBS All Access. Now, one of the biggest metrics that we were talking about earlier was the cost of acquisition of a new subscriber, how many subscribers come in. And because of Star Trek's popularity, a lot of Star Trek fans subscribe to CBS All Access. But this is from January of this year, 2019. And the article says, CBS All Access says the weekend combo of the Season 2 Star Trek Discovery premiere and Sunday's AFC Championship game pushed new subscriber signups and unique viewers to record levels. According to CBS Interactive, CBS All Access added more subscribers in a single weekend than ever before, breaking the previous record set during the 2017 series premiere of Star Trek Discovery by plus 72%. And if you remember the article from this headline, subscribers surged 71%. In addition, this weekend also set the new record for unique viewers on CBS All Access. That's individual unique viewers. Because sometimes families sign up for these things and you get multiple people watching, but somehow they were able to track unique viewers. Specific numbers were not released. The return of our biggest original series hit, Star Trek Discovery, and this weekend's AFC Championship game have propelled CBS All Access to new record-breaking heights, said Mark DeVoise, president of and chief operating officer, CBS Interactive. And this just goes into the AFC Championship game. But the big number here is that Star Trek Discovery Season 2 premiere precipitated a 72% increase in CBS subscribers, which is huge. And this is one of the reasons why CBS is putting a lot of emphasis on Star Trek, because this is the thing that helps them pull in subscribers. Now, the Hulu aspect, or the aspect of this that Star Trek Discovery is popular, especially among streaming, the CBS All Access streaming service, is kind of bandied by this Forbes article, where it says a couple of stories have grabbed my attention recently. Firstly, there's the news via Observer.com that Hulu had an amazing 12 months and now claims around 17 million subscribers. That's nearly 42% growth. It's not all rosy for Hulu because Netflix boasts a more global reach, and this is how we were talking about the more international reach that Netflix has. Outside the US, Hulu doesn't really operate, which is part of the reason that Netflix claims 109 million worldwide subscribers. In the US, Netflix is more than twice as big as Hulu with nearly 53 million customers. Things get confusing when you factor in Amazon, though, which has 80 million Prime subscribers. It's not as easy to tell how many of these are using the video service, but Amazon makes nearly twice as much money on the Prime offering as Netflix did last year, $6.4 billion versus $2.29 billion. Amazon also spent $4.5 billion on productions last year, less than Netflix's annual spend of $8 billion. Now, Netflix likes to throw around money. They have no problem taking on debt to create content. But what's interested me, though, is that the Star Trek Discovery demand expressions, or better known as the number of people talking about the show, according to Parrot Analytics, Star Trek Discovery has more than 53 million people talking about it in the US. That beats The Walking Dead, which has around 46 million expressions. Netflix's Stranger Things also has a staggering 33 million within the US. So with this Google Trends chart that came out, it showed a decline in these interest in terms of Google searches for Star Trek Discovery. But here, Parrot Analytics is saying that 53 million people talk about this show in the US. And this leads us into this little tidbit, which is that Star Trek Discovery's budget was paid for by Netflix, not CBS. And this was a gambit that Les Moonves took back when he was in charge of CBS Studios. And what he did was basically he knew that Netflix was very big on getting a original new Star Trek show on their network, but he didn't want to give them the US rights because he knew that CBS All Access was not international. He decided to put out the international rights in a bidding war, and Netflix eventually won that bidding war. And it reportedly, according to this article, paid more than 100% of the cost of Star Trek Discovery in order to obtain the rights to distribute the series internationally, which is the bulk of Netflix's market. So basically, the show made a profit for CBS before it even aired on CBS All Access in the United States. And we've heard this a lot. In fact, Midnight's Edge commented on it in a number of their stories, where the Netflix deal paid for the first season of Star Trek Discovery, which was the most expensive season because they had to build all the sets, they had to get all the costumes created. And Les Moonves knew that future seasons of the series would cost less because all the costs were front loaded on season one. But here's the interesting part here, and this is an article from Red Def, reddef.com. And if we go down to where it kind of breaks down some of these original series that Netflix does, in the co-licensed originals, they have a very interesting paragraph here where it says, to co-license a show, Netflix would commit to giving to a given percentage of its total production budget, a figure which would vary based on the number of market rights bought and competition for said rights. Accordingly, Netflix can end up paying a substantial portion of the production budget for only a single market, e.g. 60% for just the US rights, and sometimes more than 100% for all rights outside of the developing network's home market, thereby making the show essentially free for that network. For example, Netflix is believed to cover more than 100% of the cost of CBS All Access's Star Trek Discovery for the exclusive rights to the series in most non-US markets. The co-licensor's ability to influence creative, budgetary, and renewal cancellation decisions usually depends on the share of the total production budget they cover, as well as their leverage, e.g., how many companies, how competitive the bidding was, and whether or not the original or pre-existing IP, whether the originating network is licensing the IP or owns it outright, etc. To this end, Netflix is believed to have virtually no control over Star Trek Discovery's creative or budgetary decisions, though there would be predefined maximums, and may be forced to buy it for as many as 5 seasons, regardless of whether the show performs well on their service or not. So guys, the reason Star Trek Discovery continues to get renewed is because Netflix is on the hook for 5 seasons of the show. And so we're going to get at least 5 seasons of Discovery going forward. It's CBS All Access's biggest draw. It's its biggest growth property. The more Star Trek they put out, the more they're going to get into this. They don't even need Netflix to finance Picard because they're already in the black. This is the reason why Star Trek Discovery is a powerhouse for CBS All Access. This is why it's not going to get canceled anytime soon. This is why Alex Kurtzman is not in danger of being fired. So this is my case for why Star Trek Discovery is a hit. Now let me know your guys' thought. Mr. Vader, what do you think of this?
I kind of going back to that part of the article where it said everybody talks about it. Everybody's talking about it because it's so damn bad. Every conversation I have,
not wrong. I don't think.
We had this conversation just last night. I talked to an hour with this new guy at work about how shitty this show is and how it's just not Star Trek with the Klingorks and everything. But at least now they're in the future and we can't bash on them about how bad the coming seasons will be because the entire season won't be a retcon of season 1, right? So we'll see how it goes. Bring it. I mean, if nothing else, we'll get 5 seasons of stuff to talk about on YouTube streams, right? So
now, Alex, what do you think of this breakdown? And do you think that we're going to get 5 seasons worth of Star Trek Discovery?
That was very thorough, and I applaud you for that. So good job on your investigative reporting. Yeah, probably. Why not? If it's not going to cost them any money, if they're not losing money doing it, of course they're going to make it. It gives them content to put on their streaming service. And, there's at least, as much as we all kind of agree that it's not the best thing in the world, some of us hate us, some of us are just kind of middle ground. There's a lot of people out there who do watch it. I mean, we went to the Star Trek convention, and there was a substantial amount of people there that were dressed up as the Star Trek Discovery people. They obviously like the show, so that has an audience that might not be as critical as we are, or might not dissect it as much as we do, who just want to be entertained. It's very much J.J. Abrams' flash over substance, or what's the phrase for that? Style over substance. So. Yeah, it's going to be around for a while, and my only hope is that it gets better. I hope that the people running the show lean more towards classic Star Trek, which even if you do enjoy the show, people out there who like this show, you have to admit it doesn't feel like Star Trek. Even people, we all see that. That's a fair evaluation, I think. That's not too super negative. It just doesn't feel the same. So, and I think it was Jonathan Franks or one of the fans at one of the panels at Star Trek Convention said that going forward, they're going to be leaning more towards the classic Trek because they realize that that's been lacking in the last couple of years with the TV shows. So, as a lot of the other Star Trek shows, when Next Generation first came out, people didn't like it because it wasn't like the original series. When Deep Space Nine came out, I still don't even like Deep Space Nine.
How dare you, sir?
I think it's so boring.
You have to skip the first 2 seasons. Basically.
It's Paul Blart. It's Paul Blart in space, man. It just doesn't work for me. But I think it takes a while for these new Trek series to get their footing and find their own way. So
let me ask you this, Mr. Nerd, before we get to Tom, because I know Tom's chomping at the bit on this. So a lot of your issues that make you salty is just this outrage culture where people kind of latch on to all the negative, bad stuff, especially regarding Star Trek. So how does this put that in context for you? Do you think that a lot of the hate is deserved, or do you think that these people just kind of jump on these rumors to advance their agenda as opposed to looking at actual facts?
Oh, totally. 100%. It's people that jump on to whatever news they can for the echo chamber that they're trying to pander to. And they just kind of run with that. Everybody hates Discovery. Everybody hates it. Nobody's watching it, which, I mean, it has a little bit of truth. This whole group right here that we're talking to right now is proof of that there are some legitimate criticisms about the show. But I think it might be, I think it's fair. I don't know. I don't want to dig myself into a hole. It's not a minority. I don't want to say it's a vocal minority because I hate that freaking phrase, but I think it's they're looking at the pure numbers of it. And even the people who don't like it are still watching it just so that they can see if it gets any better at least, or if they want to dissect it. We all watched it. We all didn't like it. So
my numbers are in there with all the other stats too. My thing is, I find these stats and these ratings and everything with these streaming services kind of interesting because how do they measure people like me who finds the absolute cheapest way possible to watch streaming services? I have several. I don't pay for all of them because I have other people's keys that they give me. It's like my Netflix. There's 5 people on my Netflix account that we all have legal ways to use. Me, my daughter, my other daughter, my grandkids, we all have legit logons. And they're 1,000 miles away up in Oregon, So
Yeah. Same with me. My whole family shares all of our streaming services. I share HBO and Netflix. We get Amazon and CBS. So I didn't pay to watch Discovery, but I'm on there as apparently my family has watched it three separate times. So I really liked it because I watched it a bunch of times.
So I get HBO for free with my lease on my apartment, and I get HBO Go with that for free.
But they don't care. That's a subscription. That's that $15 a month.
Well, I'm about to unleash the Kraken and let Tom take a crack at this. I know that he has very passionate things to say about parent analytics and other things. So go for it, Tom.
Well, here's the thing: is I loved what you just went through, and it was very thorough, and it was a very sound argument for the most part. But I think you're mixing a couple different things together here. And parent analytics, especially considering what you're trying to argue against, was not a good thing to pull up, because I think parent analytics is complete and utter bullshit. Like, they are nothing but something for, the company to show shareholders that, oh, look, what we're doing is successful, when nothing else is proving that. And just to go to show you what I mean, is a show I love and adore, and is probably my favorite brand new show on right now, Cobra Kai, had the exact same headline that Star Trek Discovery did, not even a few days apart, coming from parent analytics. So don't tell me that how can two exact same things be the exact? It doesn't make they're complete and utter. And then there's other companies like, and even parent analytics might be one of the companies that is under investigation right now for this exact practice. Now, the other thing about the Google thing, I do find some merit in that, but again, as Matt pointed out, and this is where I'm actually going to say where Matt's right. CBS, it doesn't matter even if it is a hit with the viewers, it's already paid for. It's money in CBS's pocket. Netflix paid for Discovery. Amazon's paying for Picard. They are not out of pocket at all on this situation. They are definitely swimming in cash when it comes to Star Trek, even if there isn't any merchandise to support it, really, outside of the standard T-shirts and whatnot like that. Basically what we saw at Star Trek convention. Hardly any of this stuff is licensed out, which means extra money, but that's a whole nother argument altogether. Now, as far as it being a hit, I think that's debatable, because there's a lot of people, as we just pointed out, that probably hate watch the show as well, but they're still watching the show. So it doesn't matter. It's still ratings. And in the way that the streaming services work, Matt was pretty spot on about that as far as my understanding of the situation too. You have different kind of tiers and levels to where the extra advertising is money in CBS's pocket as well. So it's all like pure profit to them. This is not a situation where they're out any money, or we have never ever said that Star Trek Discovery is going to be canceled at any time or anything like that. Now, that doesn't mean that, things couldn't change behind the scenes, and Discovery isn't a show that they just decide to either change or get rid of eventually, but I'm sure we're stuck with it for 5 seasons, like Matt said, which is strange because usually Netflix won't go past 3. That's the funny thing with them. I find that very odd that they sign on for 5 seasons. But,
well, I think Netflix was really gearing for they were chomping at the bit for a new Star Trek thing, and their international market is kind of what they're catering to nowadays. But the really interesting metrics that we need to look at is like how many subscribers do the Star Trek shows bring in, and how many of those stick around for.
There's other factors though that you're not bringing into this, Matt. There's football. There's other shows. The Twilight Zone was a hit for them.
Yeah. No, like that. That's all legitimate
for them. Or not the Good Wife, the Good Fight, or whatever the spinoff is of the other. I don't even remember anymore. They have a lot of stuff that isn't Star Trek too, that is drawing in viewers. But see, because I've talked to people who have CBS All Access, and even as Star Trek fans, they weren't even aware that there was a new Star Trek series until I brought it up to them. So I mean, there's still that factor. And not only that, they're not talking about the number of people that drop off after Star Trek is over as well.
Yeah, this is true. And I want to say that aside, quality of the offerings aside, when you're just looking at these hard numbers like these studio execs do, they look at like how many new subscribers signed up because of Star Trek, how many of those subscribers did we churn, did we lose after the season ended? What were the ratings? What could we charge for the advertisements? What's the overall lifetime customer value of our subscribers? like they're getting all these metrics, and it's not just a simple question of are the ratings high or are the ratings low. They're looking at all these different elements to kind of determine whether or not a show is a hit or not. I think that a lot of people are still of the mindset, it's the show's ratings. If people hate the show, then it's going to get canceled.
It's not the same, no.
Yeah, there's a lot of different.
You're right about that, and that's what I wanted to say. Is you're definitely, as far as I can tell, your analysis on how that system works is spot on. And another thing, I don't know if you really brought it up or brought it to attention, was in that period in there, CBS got a big boost from adding their service to Amazon, which I think is going to be a key factor going forward too in a lot of these services, because I think that was a big player in the reason why they got a deal with Amazon for Picard as well. It's one of those things where I don't think we're going to really know if Star Trek Discovery is an actual hit until many, many years down the road. And I really don't think we're going to ever get any real solid numbers until many years down the road, probably.
Well, I think that CBS considers it a hit as it is right now.
Yeah, because as I said, they're not out anything.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about this Amazon deal. I think the deal is strictly like, they're doing these like, you can subscribe to CBS All Access through Amazon. I don't think.
Yeah, and it makes it more accessible
for it. Yeah, so and they're going to be doing that on Apple TV Plus, and
Yeah, they got a huge boost from that. There's a lot of these little services that are getting huge boosts from putting their services on Amazon, and that's how they're going to survive in the streaming war, basically.
Yeah, but we're going to get to a few comments here, and then we're going to wrap things up. So we got a comment from my good Twitter friend, Michael O'Connor. He said, I just wanted to say you guys are fantastic. Thanks for the interesting conversation. And I have to admit, Matt, I'm impressed by your objectivity in this argument. You're not letting your dislike of the show blind you to the facts. And thank you for that, Mr. Connor. That was very nice of you to say. And of course, Tom himself has said, yeah, I'm sorry, Parrot Analytics is bullshit. But I found it kind of an interesting contrast to the Google Trends type thing.
Well, and that's the thing, though, is Parrot Analytics is Fugazi to me. They say whatever it is you want them to say.
Yeah,
that's the problem. And at least with the Google thing, and I got to give them credit with that was pretty solid. Now, does it prove anything? Not really. But it does show that it's not as popular as some people like to boast, because if it was, it would be more popular than some of the other things that they put it up against. And Doomcock's video is much more for entertainment. I would put it that way. You can't really put any true water behind it and expect it to hold it. But it is interesting to see how popular the Star Trek JJ verse is in comparison to Discovery, which is much more. And I can even say something to that. Our videos that have to do with the JJ verse movies do usually do much better than the Discovery ones. In fact, one of our million view videos is one of the Star Trek 4 videos. So,
all right. Michael O'Connor says, I can agree with your entire analysis of the show. I think we can all agree that a large amount of conversation about the show is critical, but if people are paying, that's all that really matters to CBS All Access.
Yeah, that's why I said, hate watch it or not, they're still seeing it as a viewer.
Mr. Vader, do you have any final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery you'd like to share with the world?
Final thoughts on this? It's just a bad show. I don't know what to say. Yeah, hate watcher. That's me. I'm a hate watcher of Star Trek Discovery, and I hope season 3 is better. I love Star Trek, man. I want good stories. I want good characters. I want it to be good.
Yes, Mr. Nerd, what are your final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery?
My final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery. The best thing to come out of that show is Anson Mount as Captain Pike, and I am 100% supportive of having him with his own show on the Enterprise. Right. They got 10 years. They got 10 years to work with. Just don't mess with any canon stuff. Go for it.
And Mr. Connors, your final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery?
I can at least agree with that. I am hopeful for Picard. I liked Pike. I still say that this third season is where they should have started to begin with, completely far enough away from any canon that they couldn't have interrupted, and now it's not going to matter anymore. So, as far as the popularity of the show, I'll be surprised if we find out in the future it was any more popular than Enterprise was. And I do got to correct Salty Nerd a little bit. Yeah, there was some pushback on TNG, but it's not nearly as bad as everybody likes to say it was. I think it was more so at first there was a lot of people upset they weren't bringing back the original cast. But as soon as the show began, I think a lot of people were on board. And I hate it when people say like, "Oh, the first 2 seasons sucked." It's like, no, they didn't. Some of the best Star Trek TNG episodes are in those seasons. It's just the show got better from the 3rd season on, and why wouldn't you want a show to get better? You know? Yeah.
There's actually a great documentary on Netflix called Chaos on the Bridge that talks about.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
The next generation. If you're a Star Trek fan, definitely check that out. Hey, thanks for checking out this video. I hope you got a lot out of it. And remember, if you want to support the channel, please check us out on the socials. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Matthew Kadish. You can also find our discussion group over on Facebook at eggfbgroup.com. That's eggfbgroup.com. Takes you right to our Facebook discussion group. And if you'd like to help support the channel, check out my books over on Amazon.com. You can find them by going to kadishbooks.com. That's KADISH books.com. And as always, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video for more movie, TV, and entertainment news and analysis. This is Matthew Kadish. I'll catch you guys later.